Welcome back to the Our Town Podcast. Today I'm super excited bringing you Monique Brown and Mark Haney with the Growth Factory, which is a super cool idea. It is an accelerator for small businesses here in the greater Sacramento area. And I just want to thank you guys so much for coming in today. I think it's fantastic what you guys are doing. I've seen all kinds of stuff happening out of your place and been out there a couple times, and I absolutely love what's going on. Will you start off and just kind of kick off who you are, what you do, and all that kind of stuff?
You want me to start? I'm Mark Haney. I am one of the founding members of the Growth Factory. I've had something called Haney Biz for the last several years where I've been making investments. I have a podcast called The Mark Haney Show. It's all about helping entrepreneurs be entrepreneurs and hopefully bring out their full potential. So just a couple of years ago, less than a couple of years ago, we decided to start the Growth Factory, which is get it out of the Haney Biz name and really have a focused effort around bringing other people to help this out. So Growth Factory is, you mentioned accelerator, we're really an entrepreneurial development group with an accompanying venture fund. So far in the last 18, 20 months, we've invested into 34 companies and we've helped hundreds of other companies to make that next step in their dream. So Monique is my co-founder. We have one more named Rick Spencer. So maybe I'll turn over to Rick, or excuse me, Monique. All right, Chris.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, good morning. Monique Brown, co-founder and managing director of the nonprofit part. So we have a nonprofit and the company venture funds. The nonprofit is, what consumes a good chunk of my time. And like Mark said, we work with a wide range of entrepreneurs. Through the fund, we're really accelerating early stage venture backable startups in the region. But through the nonprofit, we also engage with local small businesses, high school students, college students, corporations, civic partners. So there's a lot of different kinds of work that we are able to kind of activate under the nonprofit umbrella. But I think all of it has been a lot of fun. It's been a busy couple 20 months, and it's not 2 years yet.
Yeah.
No, it's not 2 years.
Not 2 years yet.
So a startup of startups.
Yeah, I like to say an overnight success, because it's going very well. It takes thousands of nights. Overnight success takes thousands of nights. She and I have been working together for a long time, doing investing and helping startups and helping small business. But with the advent of the Growth Factory and really creating a nonprofit where we're able to rally the leaders of Sacramento to support this effort, that's really been the game changer.
Yeah, I saw you guys now Roseville's heavily invested in you guys, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's been an exciting development. So we launched in partnership with the city of Roseville last September, so September 22, I think it was, the Roseville Venture Lab, which is right on Vernon Street. You've been there. It's at 316 Vernon Street. And they invested both in the activation of the space, but really also in a number of programs that they're really excited to kind of provide for the community. So the space is a free drop-in co-working space for entrepreneurs, business owners, students in the community that come in and work. We also host a ton of events and programs there. Yesterday, we had a house full of creatives and entrepreneurs. So in partnership with Capital Creative Alliance, we're able to bring brand strategists and brand identity leaders together with founders to build great brands. So we workshopped all day on brands. So that kind of stuff is happening at the Venture Lab all the time.
Yeah, and I noticed you guys do a ton of stuff with high school students.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it you're doing with high school students?
Well, next week, we're going to be hosting a Mark Tank-like pitch event for them. But we,
Did you say a Mark Tank?
A Mark Tank. Yes. No, so we, with the city of Roseville, one of the things that they wanted to do was activate students. And so we built Roseville Rising for high school students, which this is our first time through. It ended up being this last time a 16-week program. We had 70 plus students apply. We admitted about 25 students. They represent 7 different high schools from around the region. We worked through this whole thing of problems we're solving. So we identified problems we're solving. They formed teams. They started ideating on solutions. And the Mark Tank event that'll be happening next Tuesday is the culmination of that. They'll be pitching from stage for prizes, and they'll get a spot on Mark's show. So we're really excited about that, but it's been phenomenal. The school district has been super excited. The business teachers from the campuses are coming out. We're going to continue the program. It's been great.
Nice. I think I cut you off. What were you going to say?
No, it's like, well, they said Mark Tank, and I was like, Mark Shark Tank.
So, like Shark Tank.
Wonder where we came
Don't
up
tell
with
Mark
that.
Cuban.
Do you guys do a panel like on Shark Tank?
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
That's
It's
awesome.
high energy, and it's a lot of fun because these young people have built real businesses that could have real value. It's amazing what they've done in the last several weeks to build these businesses and come together and get. Yeah, I can notice that I was over there the other day, and I noticed a lot of chemistry among the teams, and so they're getting some teamwork training throughout as well, or some experience in that realm, as well as being able to use their imagination to build a company.
100%. And I'll say that, a number of the students have taken the opportunity through the Growth Factory to just get plugged in. And so we work with the Sacramento Kings on their Capitalize pitch program. And so we've worked with them on that for a number of years. And this year, they have their finals in the VIP room downstairs as they prepare startup founders to be selected to pitch an arena, essentially. And they open the doors to our students. And so we had, most of our Roseville Rising high school students took the opportunity to come and attend that event. They were networking, they were watching entrepreneurs pitch their companies on stage and taking notes. Well, last night, Pitch Elk Grove did a pitch competition. I walk in the door and my high school students are there. And I'm like, well, dang, hello. And she's like, thanks so much for including us, but they're not doing this for school. They're not checking boxes. These are young people who are going to do really great things, and they are just totally taking advantage of the access and opportunity in so many ways.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
so awesome.
I know.
Yeah.
Now, do you guys fund these startups? Not the high schools, right? But
Yes.
are you guys funding these startups? Is the funds coming through the growth nonprofit?
Yeah.
How does that all work?
Yeah, there's a separate entity, a venture capital fund. And so we have 100 investors into that. And so then we deploy early stage capital to get them some seed capital. And then ultimately we want to follow on and make follow-on investments and attract other venture capital to come in and bring other people's money here into the Sacramento region. And because we just need to get them a little bit further along so they can get some more venture capital.
Yeah, it almost seems like it's like a mini version of Silicon Valley, right? Like
Yeah, it's the first step toward that kind of larger capital, like Mark said. Our other co-founder, Rick Spencer, really manages alongside another amazing teammate, Nikki Sims. They manage a lot of the fund activity, but raised about $14 million across those 100 investors, and we've deployed about $3.5 million across the 34 companies now, currently. And, these are early and small checks that we make alongside all of the kind of the human capital that we invest in these companies and the social capital that we invest in these companies. And then the goal is to get them to a Series A, which could happen within the region with firms like Moneta Ventures, but certainly attract capital from outside the region, and then it goes from there. And so, yeah.
So when you say Series A, what are you talking about to people that don't understand that?
A lot of times people start with just their own money and their
Yeah.
friends and family money. And then
Bootstrap.
there's pre-seed stage where you're, maybe no revenue yet, and then seed stage. And then if you're doing really well and things are starting to crank, then you go to a Series A. And there actually is A, B, C, D, on up. And those are, every time you go out to raise more money, it's considered a different round.
And usually the amount of capital being raised, it changes all the time, but there's, the pre-seed round is much smaller. The Series A becomes a lot larger. Every time you go out to raise, you are giving up a portion of equity in your company, but you're doing that really to fuel growth. And so if you can make it to a Series A, which is a real key milestone, it indicates that you've reached something called product market fit, which means you have something the market wants. And there's a business model behind it that you can scale so that you are serving a national or global market. So we are really looking at high growth tech companies that can serve national and global markets. And they're headquartered here, they're starting here, we're seeding them here, but really they're going to compete globally.
So that was going to be my next question, actually. If there's a specific kind of business that you guys look to invest in or help grow.
Yeah, the first thing we look at is, are they local? So this is to drive greater Sacramento startup growth and bring in more venture capital into our region. And so it's local first, and then we invest into great founders and great founding teams. But the business, as Monique alluded to or mentioned, it needs to be scalable. It needs to be the kind of business that can scale efficiently. So many times that's a tech company.
Yeah, and right now, because we are geographically focused, we're focused on local companies, the kinds of technology or the industries that technology is serving is pretty varied, because that's a volume challenge, right? If we said we're only doing health tech companies in Sacramento, we have a much smaller group of companies really to pull from. So we have a lot of enterprise software companies. We have a lot of health tech, med tech companies coming out of UC Davis. We have some in the kind of clean technology space. We have some government tech or civic tech companies. So they're wide-ranging industry-wise, but they're all great founding teams based locally at this early stage of their venture and looking to grow.
So when you mentioned earlier, when we were talking before this all started, we were talking about the backyard. What exactly is the backyard? What does that mean?
Backyard Advantage is the most connected community in the world for local entrepreneurs. It began with my backyard. We had all the companies that we had invested into originally. We started talking about, imagine a city where the business leaders unite, where every entrepreneur has each other's back. And as we began to bond in my backyard, then that led to the seeds of maybe we could create a backyard advantage if we could rally the broader community. And so when we started the Growth Factory, it was pulled out of my backyard, and now it's our collective backyard. It's Sacramento's backyard advantage. And so our investors are some of the most influential entrepreneurs and leaders in the region, or mentors, or people that have built companies, sold companies. They're experts in helping build businesses. We have civic partnerships, as Monique mentioned, with the Kings, Roseville, Sierra College, Rockland, El Dorado County. There's a number, the Kings. So we're basically created a platform where if you care about entrepreneurship and you have the capacity to grab a hold of this platform and help us carry it, there's a set of handles for you.
And I'll just add to what Mark said to say there's a lot of other fantastic organizations and resources that have been serving entrepreneurs for a really long time in the region, or who are doing really great work. The Carlson Center at Sac State, Startup Sac, there's other, partners that are doing the work that we also work very closely with. And so the goal is really to create, like Mark said, the world's most connected community. So any door that an entrepreneur walks through, they get routed, right? And if we are all working together and people know what everybody's working on and where to go for what, then you can walk into our door, and if we're not the right fit, I can be like, hey, go talk to Cameron at the Carlson Center, or hey, go see Moneta Ventures, you're actually further along, you might be a good candidate, or whatever. But that's the goal, is to build that network. And you didn't say the love word.
I didn't. So when in my backyard, we were invested in about 50 companies at the time, and I said, imagine a group of founders that all love one another, all in the same backyard. And so really we put love as the centerpiece of the backyard advantage. Love, the verb, right? Love, the action. So a show of love. And so that comes in the form of coaching. It can be advice. It can be tough love at times, but many times it's the opening of doors, right? We open up our Rolodex to help these early companies get traction, get customers, get follow-on funding. And so having such a connected community with love at the heart of it, we want to help each other. We know each other. We're all in the same backyard, and local has a real advantage in that aspect, because you really can get to know people and create bond and trust and love when you're working, side by side with people.
It's not like everybody's an enemy.
Right.
Not
Very
at all.
collaborative.
I've got this,
Yeah.
and they're going against each other.
Oh, it's like have you ever heard the term karitsu?
No.
It's a Japanese term. I had 5 security companies prior to starting all this stuff, and there was synergy between all the different companies. Each of the presidents of each company, they loved one another and they helped one another. So when we originally started this, it's like, how do we create some kind of synergy? Maybe not among security companies, but among Sacramento companies. So that's where it began. And karitsu is a Japanese term where it's a family of companies like Sanyo and Panasonic. they have some shared ownership, and so they've created a Keiretsu, but there's many of them in Japan, and it's a big advantage for large Japanese companies.
And then when it comes to mentorship, I notice you guys do a ton of mentorship to guide people along. Is that kind of that backyard advantage thing, or is it separate mentorship from you guys personally, or?
Both.
Yeah.
Both.
It's both, yeah. Our team, and again, Nikki and Rick spend quite a bit of time on this, really, really digging in with specifically our portfolio company founders and their teams on kind of their next key milestones that they're trying to reach, and really helping them to advance the ball towards those milestones, and then as a result of that, be able to open doors, and whether it's for additional investment or customer connections or what have you. But we really benefit from and are very grateful for kind of the extended network through our LPs, and then just through people who've raised their hand to help.
And our LPs are the investors, limited partners.
Yeah. So again, yesterday is an example, and we had 3 of our portfolio companies attend yesterday, and then one of the companies that went through our Roseville Rising for Business there. But, we had, experts in brand strategy show up for the day, at no cost to our founders, to spend the day with them thinking through how brand strategy can help you build a great business, right? And so that kind of stuff is invaluable. And every single one of our founders was like, I am walking away with so much, from these conversations, and it was just such a great day spent. So that's another example of how we can activate the community to support our founders. And sometimes it's just an introduction, like, hey, we know that this person in our network is great at this, go talk to them. And that person has said, I am open to having those conversations. So
yeah. And have you always been in the Sacramento area?
I grew up in Sacramento, and I grew up in Roseville, actually, so really committed to not leaving. My roots are here, my grandkids are here, so this is where I'm, my wife's even bought our burial plots. So I'm going to die here, barring the unforeseen. So Monique is a transplant.
I am a transplant.
Where'd you come from?
Born in the Midwest, raised on the East Coast, lived in the Bay Area for a good 15 plus years, and moved up here. I don't even know, like more than a decade ago.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I've been here for a while.
Sacramento.
But yeah, moved up with large families. I have 5 kids, and we were just looking for a great place to raise a family.
Yeah.
So.
Now, you guys do a ton of events. Like, I get emails all the time about different events. What are some of those events that you guys put out? And I know you guys have something big coming up here.
We do. That's probably the one to mention. We have smaller events. We have investor 101 training if you want to learn how to learn a little bit about venture capital. That's something we provide. We have Mark Tank, which we mentioned, which is kind of a pitch competition. We have something called Entrepreneurs Unleashed, which is kind of a panel discussion around a topical thing around entrepreneurship. But the big one is GFX, and that's October 5th. And Monique is rallied a team, a really great team this will be our second one. And this one will be at the grounds in Roseville on October 5th. And you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. We're really excited. We piloted it last year with, I think, really good results. We had about 600 people join us last year I think we had 30 startups presenting from stage. We had 12 really great breakout sessions. We had about 50 organizations representing on the trade show floor. So building on that this year, we've added an accredited investor breakfast. So we'll really be looking to activate conversations between people who are deploying capital. So both within the region and from beyond the region. So inviting investors from, Northern California, more broadly California. We have some people flying in for that. So accredited investor breakfast, opportunity for some deal flow connect in the morning, rolling into something that we're launching this year in partnership with Stoll Reeves called the Backyard Awards. And that is really meant to recognize, those that are really contributing to building the backyard. So whether it's founders that have succeeded in raising, capital and growing impactful companies here, or investors that are really hyper focused on local impact or investing in really great local companies. So along those lines, so that'll be for lunch, and then we'll roll into the afternoon, which will build on last year, a couple of different stages, breakout content, but all really focused on innovation, entrepreneurship, and venture. And so we look at that from a lot of different lenses, but it's a great place to come if you want to get plugged in. And so whether you're a civic leader, business leader that doesn't necessarily work around startups all day, but it's like, hey, what's happening in my backyard? How do I get connected to this group of people? It's a great place to come and learn.
It's a great place to it's a different kind of conference. There is a lot of love at that conference. We encourage each other to show each other some love. Oh, what do you need to help you with your business? Oh, you know what? I know somebody that can do that. So a lot of connection and creativity is happening during the event. So that's very much encouraged, and last year it happened in a big way.
Is that event open to like all people, or
Yes.
do you recommend it to people just wanting to start a business?
All people. I think anybody who's interested in the kind of the culture, economy, community of the greater Sacramento region can find value in some way by coming, and especially those that are interested in learning more about the entrepreneurial ecosystem. And so tickets are on sale now, early birds available, but yeah, no, I think it's a great place. And in fact, again, going back to our high school students, I just had our connection at the school district say, I'm getting a bus, how many students can I send? And it was like, bring it on, because this is a great place for them to come and be infused with that energy here and be like, oh my gosh, maybe I could stay here and build my company, right? Maybe I could build my network here, versus, leave the area and do it somewhere else. So yeah.
It's a chance to be inspired. We're going to have some of the top entrepreneurs in the region, a lot of the up and comers, and they'll be very accessible, because access to highly successful people can be difficult and intimidating. We take all of that out, right? We take the intimidation out. We're all human. We all want to help each other. We all love each other. We love Sacramento. As your neighbor succeeds, you succeed.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome for, I feel like, younger, like high school students. Just because I feel like these newer generations are leaning so heavily into like entrepreneurship versus like staying in school. Like a degree doesn't really mean what it used to mean. So many people are wanting to get into like business startups. Just like exposing them at a really young age is awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is this a place also when they go? So let's say these high school students show up and they're looking at a startup that is coming, and they're like, I would like to work for a company like that. Is that something where they could possibly get a job?
Yeah,
That's
happened. Yeah, so we actually have one of our founders come, and I invited him to come speak to our students. He's so great, right? And just talk about his journey. This isn't his first company. So he's sharing, all of his hard lessons learned and some advice as they're thinking about kind of what they're working on. And one of the gals in the group of students was asking some really great questions, and he came over after and he goes, who's that? And she was his intern. She became like, that was it. He was like, and you're hired, right? And so she is interning for him. Well, it gets better because he actually was also competing in this year's King's Capitalized competition. He won, and he brought her to the arena. So she was in the VIP suite with him, and on the floor, when he received the check on the floor, he brought her on the floor. So she was holding the check with him. And, that was her asking great questions, showing interest, being engaged, showing up, like she put herself in a position. And then, our founders are no fools. They're like, when they see talent, they're like, I'll take that right there. That's perfect, right? And so like, what a great opportunity for both, right?
What I would say, about that, there's parents listening, or maybe even high school students or people in college. If you go to work for one of these high growth startups, that's a huge opportunity in learning. It's like getting a college degree, like getting an MBA in entrepreneurship. But it can be financially lucrative. If you are in on the ground floor of the early stage company and employee number 7 of the early stage company, that can turn out to be very lucrative, and it can really launch a career.
So with some of those companies that you guys are they the ones that you already have in your portfolio, are those the ones presenting, or are they brand new ones that will be presenting as well?
GFX?
Yeah.
TBD, and so it'll probably likely be a combination of both, just in different ways throughout the day. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we integrate. A lot of our founders are really experts in their industries, and so they're integrated into a lot of the content panels alongside other industry leaders, investors in the space, and so they're representing kind of the innovation component of what's happening in that industry. But then we'll also have pitches and presentations from stage, and that could be a combination of existing portfolio companies and potentially new ones. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. So let's say you have your top 10 companies that you're getting ready to do. Do you have any that are actually getting ready to go public, or any of that type of stuff yet?
We are really early.
Okay.
So
we're really
yeah,
early.
We're really early. And so just to level set, like, you know, on venture funds, typically, I mean, and you're invested in a number of funds, so you can probably speak to this better than me, but like, there's a fund life, right? 10 years is really pretty common, you say.
Yeah.
And then, you know, so you invest, often you'll start to see some exits between 4 and 7 years. So we are investing very much earlier in a company's life. So that pre-seed seed stage, they're very early. And so we have a couple that are very rapidly growing and seeing really great engagement and have globally world-class investors who are co-investors in this company with us. And those companies are tracking pretty fast. So.
And the companies that I've been investing into for the longer period of time, none of them have gone public yet. One of the people think about, oh, that's the way to exit is to go public, or that's the way it works. But many times you get acquired by a larger company. So we've had a number of them get acquired. So along the way and kind of merging with another company. And so they're still thriving in a way, but they're merged with another company.
Which is a good result.
Yeah.
That's a good result.
It's for a lot more money typically, yeah.
And the other thing that happens with pre-seed funds is sometimes in those Series C plus rounds, those investors will come and essentially buy out the very earliest investors. So that's another way that you can get return on capital.
Okay, nice. And does the Growth Factory own so if the Growth Factory is investing in a company, do they own those particular shares so that when it does get bought out, or when that does happen, that you guys have the more capital to turn around and invest back in, so it's kind of snowballing?
It's the venture fund model is that when those distributions come, they go out to our investors. So we have those 100 limited partners that have invested in the fund with an expectation that they will get a return on capital.
Okay.
And so when when those exits happen, that comes into the fund and it gets distributed to the limited partners. The nonprofit sits outside of that and is funded differently.
Okay, that's interesting. So now, can anybody invest in the nonprofit? Like,
The nonprofit is, that's it. It's a nonprofit. So we have supporters that are helping us with that. Dale Carlson, you may have heard of him. He's the guy that built the sleep train and sold it to Mattress Firm, and others. Other larger corporations have said we want to help support the nonprofit, and we have smaller donors as well. And
Grant funding, so public dollars, like the contract with the city of Roseville, that's public grant funding. And then, like Mark said, we have corporate and individual sponsors essentially who say, we think this work is important to our community, and so we will underwrite that work. And so they don't get a return on that investment in terms of capital, but they get, they are looking to create an impact in the community. So that's their return is impact.
Awesome. So when it comes to you guys mentoring and all that type of stuff, and she alluded to this earlier, was looking for those kind of tech companies and stuff like that. Is there anything that you guys are looking for specifically right now to add into the portfolio?
I think Mark will say this all the time, we want to meet every entrepreneur, right? And so I think we don't have like a specific technology that we're necessarily looking to source and fund. We're really looking for the most innovative driven entrepreneurs in the region, and then we'll go from there. Is how can we help, right? And so sometimes that is through the fund and accelerator, so we do help with capital and time investment, and other times it's not a fit for us to do that, but we want to help get them connected or routed to the right resources. So, yeah.
But I want to go back to the high school thing because I think that's super cool. Like I really do. I think it's so necessary right now. Are you taking stuff not just Roseville? You said you have Elk Grove. Is there anybody from Sacramento? Do you have like kind of battle with the bands?
And to be
but
clear,
for high schools?
no, that's good. To be clear, we don't have students from Elk Grove. We have students that are in our program that went to an event in Elk Grove last night.
Okay.
So I walked into the pitch event in Elk Grove, and my students were there because they heard about it from us, right? And they chose to attend. But the city of Roseville's been really generous with both the Roseville Rising for businesses and the Roseville Rising for high school students, recognizing that, you know, the region wins together. And so they are funding those programs, but they have allowed them to be open to students and businesses from around the region. This first pilot in the city of Roseville, we really did focus on the Roseville Joint Unified High School District because it was our first time running it. I frankly didn't know who would get a single applicant. We did limited promotion and we got 70 applicants, which was validating. And we've had a ton of interest to do more, so I'm a little worried about the next round and how many applicants we're going to have, you know.
Yeah, your curiosity is not uncommon. I posted something on my Instagram the other day that I had 2 people that want to help, want to get involved, right? 2 very successful entrepreneurs. Oh, how do I get involved?
They're trying to find them young.
Yeah. And it's, you know, I think people, to your point earlier, like in today's day and age, we need to, you know, we need to grow our young people in the right direction, and this is a real positive way for them to spend their time. I mean, sports is great, extracurricular activities associated with school is great, but to start thinking about business when you're a sophomore, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Well, and again, like, I didn't know if anybody would apply, and then the conventional wisdom coming in the door is like, you know, by halfway through you won't have any students, they'll drop off because it's free and volunteer. No, they, like, the retention has been, it's like 95%. It's been insane.
Wow.
It's been insane. 16 weeks, every week, after school, middle of the week on a Tuesday, and these kids have shown up every week, you know, and they are, I mean, this is opt-in. They chose to do it. They're showing up and doing it. They let me know if they can't be there for some reason. I mean, like, just like the business professionalism of these students, that like better than half of the entrepreneurs that we work with, right? Like they tell you when they're not going to be there. They do the work and turn it in, kind of thing. Like if we're saying, hey, we need to see how you're thinking about this, whatever, it gets done. It's really, really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all know that we become like the people that we spend the most time with. So these young entrepreneurial minds getting together, it's a powerful group of young people, and it's rubbing off on each other. It's infectious.
Yeah. I think it's so neat. The fact that they're doing that, and I will tell you, when somebody pays for something, they always show up, but when they don't pay for it, they don't show up. So the fact that they're not paying for it and it's volunteer and you're getting it is phenomenal.
Yeah. No, we're excited about it, and great kids. They're great kids, yeah.
So if somebody wanted to find out more about you guys, how do they track you down? What the different things? Do you have multiple websites? Just one website?
Growthfactory.us is probably the main place to go. You can follow. You have Growth Factory has an Instagram page. I have an Instagram page. I'm at the Mark Haney. Growth Factory Instagram page.
Growth Factory HQ.
HQ, yeah, that's right. Growth Factory HQ, yeah.
But yeah, that's a great place to start. You can subscribe to our newsletter there. Also, Mark has a newsletter, so between us, you'll get, you know, all the information that you need. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's another great way of, you know, and then I can route you to whatever.
I think that's how I met Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn too, and or just swing by. So I'm on Granite Drive. So the Growth Factory headquarters is on Granite Drive, in between Tesla and Porsche. So if you're driving down the freeway and you see a sign on the, you know, in between Tesla and Porsche, it says Venture Capital, and it'll be the Growth Factory, an accelerator and co-working space. Swing in and say hello.
Cool. And from the website, they can learn more about each one of the different things you do, the high school stuff, the backyard, the what is it, GFX?
Mm-hmm.
GFX?
Yes.
I got it right?
Yeah.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. And real quick, on GFX, you said early bird sign up. How much is early bird sign up? How much is full sign up, all that?
It's $49 for early bird for the full day, includes happy hour too. And then I think
Free drinks at happy hour?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Early bird's the deal, man.
Sign up early and show up
Early
for
bird
cocktails.
is the deal. I'm telling you right now, you want that. I think it goes up to like $99, full price before the event for that major treat, like the 1 to 7. So 1 to 7. If you want to join us for the backyard lunch, it's a little bit more, but yeah.
Okay, and is it 2 days? 1 day?
One day this
1 day.
year, but we have big plans for next year.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming in.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
thank you for
doing
having
us on the
us.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah, appreciate it very much.
Awesome.